Hey guys, this is Gevorg from Gev Loves to Read. I wanted to just talk a little bit about one of the books I read. This was towards the end of 2020. It's been a while since I read it, but just give a few thoughts on it. It's called Greenlights by Matthew Mcconaughey. It was a memoir that he wrote about his life. I think he turned 50 years old around the time that he wrote the book, and it was just kind of like a memoir of his life up to now. And it's a fun, lighthearted book, nonfiction, pretty easy to read, very accessible. Definitely recommend it. And I think the main takeaway I got from it is, you know, that, look, this guy is a huge risk taker. He's very impulsive. He'll sort of have a thought in his head and he just acts on it. And, he's done a lot of traveling. For example, when he was young, I think when he graduated from high school, he went on this trip to Australia for like 6 months. And he stayed with this really bizarre family in Australia, in a very, 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 very small town. They were just weird people, and he had a very unpleasant experience, but he toughed it out. He stayed through it, and he was able to, even though they were kind of weird people, he just barreled through it, and then eventually he lived with another family there. But I don't know, a lot of people, when they just graduate from high school, they're 17, 18 years old, growing up in Texas, and now they're going to go live 6 months in Australia with some wacky family. That's not something that a lot of people do. But I think those kind of experiences seem to have really shaped him into a strong individual. And he also does a lot of things on a whim. Like there's a couple of different dreams he has about Africa and South America, and he just, based on a dream. I think he has the dream a couple times. He ends up going on trips there to South America, to Africa. He also talks about a trip he does to Europe, like a month-long trip where they just ride around in a bike. That was like early on when he first got into acting. I think he wanted to actually be a lawyer initially, but he sort of pursued an acting career, and his parents luckily were supportive. And also, even when he first became an actor and was actually pretty successful, he was actually just living from a mobile home, like a U-Haul mobile home or something like that. And you just drive around the country with it. So he just is a very adventure-seeking guy, free-spirited type of guy. If you remember, there was that one incident with him where he was arrested for playing like the bongo drums or some weird musical instrument. He was playing it late at night, and maybe one of his neighbors called, and that was after celebrating a football game where his alma mater, the University of Texas, beat Nebraska, and he was up for like 30 plus hours celebrating, and he ended up he was like naked playing the drums, and he got arrested for it. So he's just a very kind of free-spirited, go with the flow, adventure-seeking person, and I think that resonated with me reading it because it's so different than my personality. That's probably my major character flaw, is that I'm very neurotic, very risk averse. Honestly, I kind of tend to just do what I'm comfortable with. And maybe that's my lesson from the book. If I could even be 10% as adventuresome, adventure seeking and risk taking as this guy, I'd probably be a lot more successful. And the other thing I'll mention, he talks about towards the end of this book is, and this is something that I enjoyed reading because I felt this way, thinking about his acting career. By the way, I'm not a big movie buff. I don't watch a lot of movies, but I've watched a few of his movies, and one of the things I would always make fun of him for is that he's always in these like cliched romantic comedy films. And it did feel like at some point he was in so many of those. And, those aren't really the best quality movies. They're just very formulaic and you know, maybe they do well, people like them, but they're not really going to win an Oscar or any great artistic endeavor. And so, and then I noticed at some point he started doing more serious Oscar-worthy films like Interstellar and Dallas Buyers Club and a few other stuff like that. And then, and he talks a lot about that in the book, actually, which I think people might find interesting. He, you know, that didn't happen by accident. It wasn't just some pure accident that he started appearing in those movies. He actually deliberately made a decision. This was even after he'd gotten married and had a family. He was like, you know what? I'm not going to take these romantic comedy films anymore, even though he was still getting those scripts and he was even getting, people were willing to pay double, triple, you know, the salary to get him to do them because it was like a sure thing. You know, he said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing these films. He wanted to do stuff that was more artistically creative for him and challenging. So, you know, he just kind of kept saying no, and then eventually people took a hint and more artistic type endeavors came his way, and seemed to really, you know, have a good run where he made some pretty good movies like Interstellar and Dallas Buyers Club, which I haven't seen that one, but Interstellar wasn't bad, and then he would also had a small role in Wolf of Wall Street. But so yeah, you know, just another example. I know it's not the most courageous thing in the world, but still, you know, he took a risk. You know, with his acting career, and it could have really backfired. He might have just, you know, been done with Hollywood, but it sort of paid off for him. So those are some of the things that kind of resonated with me as I read the book. It's a fun, you know, pretty straight, easy book to read. So, so I enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it. So yeah, if anyone else read it from my subscribers or whoever stumbles upon this video, yeah, let me know what you thought of it. If there's anything else that you liked or didn't like, but for me, I really enjoyed it, so definitely recommend it. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for more. Have a great day.